Last week I bought around 74 romance novels. Two of them I bought brand new, but most of them I bought used at thrift stores. And it's been a while since I've been able to go to thrift stores because of the lockdowns. But I'm just going to show you some of these books that I bought, and I'll just try to run through them as quickly as I can. Now I got three books by Laurie McBain. And we have Moonstruck Madness, Dark Before the Rising Sun, and When Splendor Falls. She only wrote, I believe, 7 books between the mid 70s and mid 80s. And so these are 3 of them, and I also have one of her books already. Tears of Gold, I believe is the name. So I just need 3 more to have all of them. And they're in kind of nice condition, too. And we'll just keep running through these. I bought 3 books by Kathleen E. Woodwiss, known for The Flame and the Flower, which was sort of the book that kicked off the modern romance genre. The Wolf and the Dove is from the 1970s, and these 2 are from the early 80s. That's a great cover. And Come Love a Stranger. She was a very popular writer at that time. Jennifer Wilde, who was actually Tom E. Huff. I have 3 of his books already, but I bought this one last week, Dare to Love. And about 2 books by Valerie Sherwood, who I'd never heard of before until last week when I was doing some research in old issues of Publishers Weekly, actually, about romance. And there was a thing about Valerie Sherwood. These are very thick books. Historical looking. And we get some more here. I bought 3 books by Cynthia Wright, who I did not know anything about, but they looked pretty cool. And I bought a few books by Fern Michaels. These ones were actually, Fern Michaels at the time, when she started writing in the 70s, was actually 2 writers, a team of 2 writers, but one of the co-writers left at some point in the 1980s, and the other one kept, oh, there's a nice back cover. The other one kept writing, so this is more of a newer book by Fern Michaels, The Men of the Sisterhood, which was as you can see, all these books. This one is from 2017. And again, some of these writers I don't know anything about, but Christina Savage, but it looks like one of those type of books that I would like. Ellen Tanner Marsh, published by Warner Books. Celia by Marilyn Granbeck. Now, some of them may not be technically romance. They may be more historical. This one is from 1965. It's the edition is from the 70s, but the book was originally written in 1965 by Roberta Gellis. Let's see if I can get that in better. There we go. And this edition is from 76. So it was sort of a historical before, the romance thing really took off. But of course it's marketed as a historical romance. And I'll show a few others here. Now these 2 books, when I bought them, I didn't realize till when I got them home that they're actually written by the same author, Anna Lee Waldo. Sacagawea and Prairie. And they're massively thick books. This one, it looks like they even have different paper stock in the middle. This is 1978. This book which is about the Native American woman that accompanied Lewis and Clark on their expedition and helped them find things. This book is 1,358 pages long, so it's massive. And this one's almost as long. This one is 1,120. But they're more like historical, epic type things than obviously romance specifically. And here's some more in that sort of genre. The Emancipist. And I think this is an Australian. Yep. This one, also published by Avon. 1985, it says. And it is just over 1,000 pages. Here's another historical epic. Jane Tombs, The Scots. Patricia Wright, A Space for the Heart. A spectacular debut in romantic historical fiction. That looks interesting. And so now we're going to get more into the 80s and 90s of more historical romance. These are two books by Nan Ryan. Love Spell Books, which was Dorchester, I think. Let's see. Yeah, Dorchester Publishing. Yep. This one is an odd one, Time Swept, which is a time travel romance. Now, you wouldn't guess it from the cover, published by BMI, but I believe it's a reprint from a Leisure Books release. Time Swept, the woman is a Vietnam War era nurse who travels back in time and falls for a Confederate soldier. So we'll have to see how the relationship works out. And Follow the Moon. This was a Zebra Splendor. If I can get that in there. Oh, not too well. This was sort of their line. Zebra had like the Heartfire line and their hologram, Lovegram line. And then this, I believe, was in around 2000s, in 1999, that they had the Splendor line. I think there was also Ballad. What's the new one? So I love these kind of books, actually. You know, they may look cheesy from the covers, but they're highly entertaining to read. I mean, you can just, this is published by Pocket Books. They published a lot of historical romance in the 80s and 90s. These are two more BMI releases. (1988). And this one is 1990. This was published in arrangement with Dorchester. So I believe BMI reprinted a lot of stuff. I know they reprinted some Barbara Cartlands in the early 90s too that had originally been published, I think, by Ballantine. This is a Signet Regency. Now, normally Signet Regencies were pretty thin, around 200 pages, but this has reprints two of the books, two of the Regency novels by Patricia Rice, all in one volume. Elizabeth Thornton, I've read one of her books before. I wanted to like it more than I did because it was a little heavy on the history. So we'll see how this one goes. This, I think, is a little later than the one I read. One I read was, I think, from 1990. Two books by Susan Wiggs. The Firebrand is actually the third volume in a trilogy about the Chicago fire, I believe. But this one looks interesting. Standalone, The Lightkeeper, about a man who is a lighthouse keeper and a woman shows up on the shore. Something to that effect. That sounds intriguing. And we're getting to the more recent stuff here. 2 books by Julia Quinn. This cover looked familiar to me. This is from, I think, 2008, but it looked like Keira Knightley or somebody like that. I thought, is this from a movie? But evidently not. The Lost Duke of Wyndham. And Victoria Alexander and Candace Camp. These are both Regency type books, it looks like. We have a book by, more recent books by Joanna Lindsay. It was very popular in the 1980s and 90s. There's a more recent one in Jude Devereaux. It was very popular in the 80s. Lisa Kleypas. Now, I think she's written a lot of historical, but this is a contemporary. Now, here we have 2 books that just came out this year, 2020. Mary Below. This book is actually more like a novella that is sort of padded out with some excerpts from her previous books. But this came out earlier this year, and I bought it at a thrift store. And this one also came out from 2020. It's a zebra historical romance. Looks like a Regency. And again, it was published in January of 2020. This book I bought at Dollar Tree, actually, for $1, and it is a Avon Books. There's a little blurb from Sarah McLean about one of the author's previous novels. Let's see what year this one is. 2018. Yeah, for $1, I can't pass it up. Now here's 2 brand new. I bought these new at the store recently. This came out in hardcover last year, but I'm still reading. You can see my bookmark in there. But it's Linda Lyle Miller, it's a massively thick book takes place in during the Civil War. And I actually bought in one of her other releases. This one came out in 2020. I bought this at a thrift store just recently. And again, I think came out in January from Harlequin. But this one I'm looking forward to finishing. I got a ways to go. I'm only on like page 40 or so. I like how it's sort of an oversized paperback. It's a little bit bigger size than a regular one. Now, this was a zebra historical by Kathleen Bittner Roth. Felice is the name. All her books just have the name of the title is the name of the heroine. And in the back there's a preview of a forthcoming book by her. Lily is the name. Whoops. So it says coming soon. Lily. So I really like that, how it's sort of like has a sort of uniformity to it. These were 2 other recent books I bought, Tony Blake and Brenda Jackson. And I've got these at the thrift store. They're both published by Harlequin fairly recently. This one's 2020, actually. And Brenda Jackson is a very popular African-American romance writer. I think there's a picture of her in the back. And she writes a lot for the Harlequin Desire line. And this book, I believe, came out last year. Let's see. Yep, 2019. And this also came out in 2019, a love-inspired suspense. Now, I actually had this before at some point and got rid of it, but I haven't read it yet. So this is a larger print edition, too. I kind of like the larger prints where it's a little easier to read. And I got a whole bunch of Harlequin historicals as well. We're going to save those for last as I get through some of these other random ones here. These are 2 romance books for younger readers, teenagers. First Love from Silhouette. This is actually written by a male writer. And this one, Turning Points, book number 1 from 1984 from Signet. A romance with 2 endings. Which one would you choose? So you get to choose whether the story ends in romance or friendship, because at the back of the book, there's like ending number 1 and ending number 2. So you choose which one you want to do. Here's 2 category romances, Silhouette, romance number 80, and Harlequin romance number 3139 from 1990. 2 books by Nora Roberts. Now this one is part 3 of her Stars of Mithra trilogy. I had read part 2 and really enjoyed it a lot. This was a Silhouette Intimate Moments. So I was very pleased when I saw part 3 at the thrift store and had to grab it. She's a very good writer, although I've only read that one book by her. And this book reprints 2 of her earlier books from, I think, the late 80s or early 90s, The Best Mistake and Local Hero. So it reprints them in one volume just to keep them in print, I guess. And 2, I think these are both Harlequin, yes. Yeah, these are both Harlequin books that are anthologies, so they have some short stories in them. This one I got because it was Regency. This one I got because it had Anne Stewart, whose writing I like. And so she actually has a little intro in her story. And it has a note from Anne Stewart about it. And finally, the Harlequin historicals I got. These are all semi-recent. They're like, I think the oldest is like from 2014, but they go up to 2017, 2018, 2019. And the thrift store had some Western ones as well, but I'm more a fan of the Regencies. So that's mainly what I got. There's another Annie Burroughs one here. And I've bought from the Harlequin website before, so I was very happy to be able to get these for like 20 cents each. The thrift store had them for paperbacks for 20. They had paperbacks for $5 for $1. So that's a pretty great bargain when you consider trying to buy these new. You know, the price would be around $5 each. And so we just have the rest of them here. That's a nice looking cover. Louise Allen, I've read one of her books before, Harlequin Historical, and enjoyed it. That's April 2018. And that's it. So it was around 75 books that I ended up, well, I can't say exactly how much it cost, probably about $30 altogether, maybe a little less. But, so I didn't think I'd get through the whole video showing all of them, but I managed to do it. Thanks for watching. Bye.